Welcome children to channel Sube. Today I am going to discuss question number 26 of 2019 Physics new syllabus MCQ paper. An analog multimeter connected to a circuit is shown in the figure. The reading of the multimeter is 8 ohms, 7 milliampere, 1.4 volt, 7 volt, 14 volt. Children, what are the things we can measure using a multimeter? You can measure the resistance. Then you can measure current. You can measure voltage. Then also you can identify the terminals of a transistor, collector, base, emitter. Then you can identify the terminals of a diode, cathode, anode. And also you can identify whether it is a PNP transistor or an NPN transistor. And also you can identify whether it is a field effect transistor or a bijunction bipolar transistor. So there are a lot of applications in this multimeter. So to do all these things properly, you should know how to use it, otherwise you definitely burn it. Then therefore, first of all, you have to check before you connect these wires to the multimeter. First of all, you have to check whether the switch is turned to the proper direction and to the proper value. So you know about your circuit, what you are going to measure, connected to a circuit. So you know what is the power supply in the circuit. It may be a just a dry cell. If it is a dry cell, you know 1.5 is the voltage. So you can turn to DC volt. There are 4 ranges here. First of all, you have to choose the correct suitable range. If you have turned it to ohms range and you connect this voltage to these terminals, then definitely the multimeter will get damaged. Therefore, first of all, you have to choose the correct range. So here they have turned it to DC volt range. So definitely they are going to measure a DC voltage. So if you are using a battery whose voltage is 9 volt, sometimes we use 9 volt batteries. So then you must turn the switch to 10 volt and in this DC volt range. And sometimes we use car batteries, that means accumulators. If we use a accumulator, a big one like this, car battery we call, so that is 12 volt. So you can't connect it like this, turning the switch to 2 volt, then definitely the coil will be burnt. Therefore, first of all, you should have an idea of your power source. Then only you should connect it after turning the switch to the proper proper category and to the proper value. So here they have turned it to 2 volt. That means the circuit must have a voltage lower than 2 volt. So they have assumed that they have connected wires correctly, the negative and the positive like this. The positive red wire must be connected to the positive terminal. It is printed on the instrument like this, and negative blue wire to the common, or the negative sign is there, that is printed on the multimeter. So you have to study all these things first of all, and you have to use correct colors of wires, otherwise you will get accidents and damage the devices. So now let us assume they have connected these wires correctly. So you have to start from the switch. In the exam, you have to start from the switch. First of all, you have to identify the arrow in the switch. Here there is an arrow. The arrow side is the side that you have to read. This other side without the arrow is not, you are going to read it. It is not the proper category or the value. So here they have turned it to 2 volt. Now this DC volt category and the 2 volt value you should bring to the end of this scale. So first of all you have to choose here the two categories, AC volt and DC volts. From these two you have to choose this DC volt. Ampere we don't want, because we know that we are not going to measure ampere because they have turned to this DC volt range. So therefore DC volt we have to select first of all that. Then this AC volt side we don't want, therefore I delete it. You don't have to focus your mind to that side or that values. So therefore to understand easily I completely delete this. When you do practically you have to forget that scale and use the scale that now I am going to show you. So this is scaled totally no need. Now that 2, I said that value 2 volt, this one should be at the maximum here. The maximum value should be that value. So you have to take that 2, the value 2 here, and put it here. In some multimeters they have printed 2 here. They have printed 2. If so, it is very easier. They have printed sometimes 20 here. Then also it is easier. Sometimes they might have printed 200. That also doesn't matter. It is also easier. But here it is not easy. So you have to put here, because there are no familiar numbers here like that. Therefore you can't use these numbers. If they have printed as I said some familiar numbers, then you could have used it, but here totally these numbers are useless. So you have to put here that value 2 now. Then what you have to do, you have to write the other values also. Then these larger parts, these larger parts, how many are there? So this total length is now 2 volt. Total length is now 2 volt. So how many parts there are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then what is the value here should be? So here 0. You have to do what? This maximum value divide into number of parts, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to 5 you have to divide it to 5. 2 divide by 5. Easily you can divide 4 by 10, multiplying to the denominator and numerator. So you get 0.4 volt. So that is the value here. That is the length of this part. So you can write 0.4, then 0.8, 1.2, 1.6, 0.04 by 0.04. This one of this part is 0.4 by 0.4, 0.4 by 0.4. So total this length is 0.4, remember. So how long the needle has been deflected? Up to this place. Up to this place the value is 1.2 volt. Now how do you take, how do you get the reading of this amount? See, the needle is at the center of this total part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where the needle exactly at the middle, at the middle of this part. So totally this part is 0.4 volt. Then how much is this half? 0.2 volt. Then what is the reading of this needle? You have to get this 1.2, because totally it came along the way to 1.2, then this half 0.2, then add, because we need the total length 0.4, 1.4, that is the reading, that is the reading. So the answer is this one, 1.4 volt. So if the needle is not at the center, what will you do? Say the needle is not at the center, it's somewhere here. Say I delete it. Since the needle is at the center, it was easier. Say the needle is somewhere here, like this. Then what is the value? Then you have to count the smaller segments. How? You have to find what is the value of this smaller one. The totally there are 10 and the total length is 0.4, then you have to divide it to 10. If there are 5 parts like this, you have to divide it by 5. The total length you have to divide by the part of the number of parts divided divided. So here in this case, this smaller one is 0.04 because this one is divided by 10. Now there are how many? 1, 2, 3. Then 3 times. 3 times mean 3 times 3 into 4, 12.12. So what is the reading? What is the reading? All the way up to here 1.2, then this smaller length is 1.2, then 2, 3, 1. This is the final reading, 1.32. So like that you can calculate if they have given the needle somewhere else. So I think you understood, children. If you are happy, please subscribe my channel before you leave. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.